Beginning on October the 11th, Saturday night, we'll open up a whole new live venture from New York City, from Studio 8H here at Rockefeller Center. And we just happen to have the producer of the program, Mr. Lorne Michaels, with us, the producer of Saturday Night, and members of his company. And let's spend a couple of minutes talking about your show. Lorne, I'd like to meet your gang.
Well, just before we do that, I just want to say that I thought Jerry was wonderful as well.
How does it work?
Well, we've got 8, and we're hoping for 2 to really work. So not all of these people will become stars.
Lorne Michaels created Saturday Night Live in 1975. Obviously, as one knows, musical acts are ingrained in the show, from Taylor Swift to A Tribe Called Quest, David Bowie, Jack White, Prince, Nirvana, and many, many more. Now, with that comes an opportunity to be platformed by NBC and Lorne Michaels. But some would be a thorn in Lorne's side, per se. Cypress Hill would perform and light a joint on stage. The backstory went as follows.
It was rehearsal.
Okay.
And I was rolling up a rehearsal.
Okay.
Just rolling up.
This is not the day before, this is the day of.
It's the day of. So I'm just rolling up and, you know, they was like, don't smoke, don't smoke, don't smoke. It was like,
in the dressing room. They didn't even talk about stage.
Nah, this ain't even stage yet.
Right.
And they said, don't light up on stage.
Nice.
All right, cool. After a while, I was like, man, fuck them.
You know what the original plan was to that, you know, but because they kept antagonizing him with not smoking, but they kept fucking with him, and he said, fuck it, he went.
So did you tell the group, or you just did this on your own?
No, I just did it. I knew we had to do it at the beginning because I knew they might cut the TV off.
Right.
Because, as Be Real put it, they were antagonized. Essentially, the SNL crew kept coming in over and over and saying, hey, don't smoke on there. Hey, don't smoke on there. Hey, don't smoke on there. And finally, they were like, we're going to. He says the ban is still in effect, though they would love a return. Sinead O'Connor also banned.
In 1992, Sinead performed Bob Marley's War on Saturday Night Live, then proceeded to rip up a photo of Pope John Paul II on live TV, declaring, quote, fight the real enemy. The move, a protest against systemic child abuse in the Catholic Church, of which she was a survivor, provoked widespread uproar.
The Washington Post would report at the time, her protest came at the height of her music career and more than a decade before the church's sexual abuse and cover-ups were widely acknowledged. The blowback from media, Catholics, fellow artists, Americans seemingly set her bright career ablaze, but not for O'Connor. It remains one of the more legendary performances at Saturday Night Live. There's more, of course, Elvis Costello, to name one, Frank Zappa. I mean, there is a good amount to reiterate. Personally, what strikes a chord with me?
Living in the States, you're living in one of the most brutal societies in the history of the world. You know, the country who inherited the genocide of the Native American peoples. A country which participated in chattel slavery, you know, the only country in the world to use and drop an atomic bomb on another country, society. The country which murdered and enslaved millions in Southeast Asia as a result of the Vietnam War. And we drew from the people who resisted. We were inspired because we feel that any society or any government or any system that is set up solely to profit a wealthy class, while the majority of the people toil and suffer and sell their labor power, so long as that system's only true motive is profit interest and not the maintenance and betterment of the population to meeting human needs, then that society should not stand. It should be challenged and questioned and overthrown.
Rage Against the Machine. They were set to appear on that stage at SNL in 1996, which meant...
I'm Steve Forbes. The politicians are getting nervous. The polls are getting closer. We're moving up, leading a national crusade to change America. The politicians will try to stop us, but they can't. We want a balanced budget amendment that's a tax cut. A simple, honest flat tax and an end to wasteful spending. Join our crusade. Let's send the politicians a message.
Steve Forbes, conservative for president.
This guy was running for president. Hey, this is really quick. If you want to become a channel member or want to buy me a coffee, you can follow the link in the description box below. Anything helps and it keeps this channel afloat. Thank you. Think about the dynamics, though. Rage Against the Machine. A band that once came out in prison garb to symbolize and bring awareness to the atrocities occurring at Guantanamo Bay. A band that rails against capitalism, slimy, greedy overlords like this schmuck you see on your screen and more. And they were paired up with a host who's a billionaire. On one side, you had a man who represented the establishment to a T. On the other, well, you know. So how would this play out?
Guitarist Tom Morello talked about the band's thinking that night, telling the LA Times, "We knew that he was going to be making a statement. It was going to be all about how charming to have a billionaire telling these jokes and promoting his flat tax. And we wanted to stand in sharp juxtaposition to that by making our own statement."
Morello would then say in the build-up to this performance, being on SNL was something that was valued. It was part of the DNA of American culture and entertainment. So when the offer came to be on it, we said we'd be happy to, but Rage never did things in a normal way. So we were thinking, how are we going to make this into some crazy performing art thing? Then we found out that Steve Forbes was going to host. How ironic. Let's see how this works out. Forbes would end his presidential campaign that year, and he would head to SNL, though, of course, he endorsed Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole of Kansas. Bill Clinton would serve a second term after defeating Bob Dole. He won 379 electoral votes. Rage's Evil Empire was released that same year. By the way, peep the price for the album on CD. The kids will never know. With Forbes as host, Time wrote, he just plain came off as flat as his tax proposal. Morello and co. would only play one single song that evening. But why? Let Tom Morello explain it.
Bulls on Parade on Saturday Night Live. It said you were originally going to play two songs, but you were cut to one when the band attempted to hang an upside-down American flag on the amplifiers.
That is correct. We had, as part of our stage setup, we had upside-down American flags on the amplifiers, a sign of signal for distress. They told us because the sponsors might be offended by the flag, Steve Forbes was the host, you have to take them down.
The SNL crew told Rage they must remove the flags that were positioned upside down. Symbolically, NPR reports the upside-down American flag, originally an apolitical symbol used by sailors to signal that their ship was in trouble, has since been adopted by both the political left and right in protest. Across the political spectrum, it's been used to express dissent on a range of issues, including gun violence, the Flint water crisis, and the overturning of Roe v. Wade that protected the right to an abortion. That would all change during the live show.
So we took them down during rehearsal. We put them up right before we went on stage. There was a fight on the stage. Their stage hands were stronger than our stage hands and managed to pull them down, and we played the one song.
Morello would outline the scrum that took place between SNL's crew and Rage's crew. This is mere seconds before they went live and performed. Now, he would recall of that night with the aftermath. It's a rockin' performance. We go back to the dressing room and it's tense. Our dressing room is right across the hall from Steve Forbes. Time goes by. A rep of SNL comes to the door and says, "Looks like the show's running a little long and we're going to cut your second number." And they leave us alone. That was their mistake. That is where we introduce bassist Tim Comerford, seen on the far left right here. Recall this.
This guy is rock and roll. He should be getting the award.
That was Comerford during Limp Bizkit's MTV Video Music Awards speech in the year 2000. When they went on stage to accept the VMA for Best Rock Video, they beat out Rage's Sleep Now in the Fire, by the way. Comerford was 20 feet in the air, swaying the giant backdrop while a team of security and stagehands looked on bemused before climbing after him. Asked if he had any regrets over the stunt. When he was arrested, Comerford was quoted as saying, "I wish I would have swung on that thing and brought it to the ground and just destroyed it." it. If I could do it all over again, I would have ripped the thing to the ground and shredded it. That's Tim Comerford for you. Thus, Morello says, Timmy doesn't like things like that, and he expressed himself. So what he did was he took one of the American flags and he tore it up and he knotted it into a ball. You might call it a weapon. And he entered Steve Forbes' dressing room across the way to attack him. Steve Forbes was not in his dressing room, but his family was. So Timmy launches his American flag ball rocket at aunts, cousins, wives, children. Fortunately, the kind of solid integrity of it, not so great. So it flaps apart, hurting no one. Morello would tell the Birmingham News in 1996 that SNL folk proved that they're bootlickers to the corporate masters. Now, in Questlove's documentary, which is titled Ladies and Gentlemen, 50 Years of SNL Music, Morello says that although they were thrown out, he still attended the after party. From Morello, Saturday Night Live censored Rage, and they could not have sucked up to the billionaire more. The thing that's ironic is Saturday Night Live is supposedly this cutting-edge show, but they proved that they're bootlickers to their corporate masters when it comes down to it. They are cowards. Evil Empire that year, by the way, would debut at number 1. In 2023, Rage Against the Machine would be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame after getting back together and then not, and then another reunion, and then that falling apart, and a tour being cut short because of a torn Achilles. The drummer, Brad Wilk, would post on his Instagram. I know a lot of people are waiting for us to announce new tour dates for all the canceled Rage Against the Machine shows. I don't want to string people or myself along any further. So while there has been some communication that this may be happening in the future, I want to let you know that Rage and I will not be touring or playing live again. I'm sorry for those of you who have been waiting for this to happen. I really wish it was. Amen to that.